Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha Kodash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone, who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah. This lesson is edifying to the flock. St. Matthew 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. In the news from ABC 7, New York, NYPD officers quitting in record numbers amid growing issue over New York City crime. And this will be an issue that will not only affect New York City, but ultimately all states throughout the U.S. as we approach the end. For the end is come. It watcheth, as it is written, for thee. The end is come. Only evils will come. And evil means bad time. Eve means time, and ill means bad. WABC New York. The size of the NYPD is shrinking at a time when crime has become a major issue in New York City, because crime has been increasing exponentially over the last 2 years in New York City. In fact, New York City is becoming a free-for-all. And New York City is basically the epicenter of this man's kingdom. The belly of the beast, as they would say. More than 1,400 NYPD officers have quit their jobs this year, according to the NYPD's Police Benevolent Association, because police officers are now considering their lives a lot more, and those of their families. Right then and there, that says there's a problem. PBA President Patrick Lynn told Eyewitness News investigative reporter Christine Trone in a sit-down interview Monday at the PBA headquarters in Lower Manhattan. Also recalled the Purge Law that I believe, if my memory serves me correct, the state of Illinois will be passing in the coming new year. And this will be, again, a law that will not just only apply to the state of Illinois, but also throughout all the rest of the states in the United States. Babylon the Great. We're going to start to see 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, in full effect, where men will disregard the laws of their kings and princes, of their presidents, their governors, their mayors, their local leaders, because there will be sedition amongst men. There will be unlawful insurrection against lawful authority amongst men, primarily here in the United States, which is Babylon the Great, followed by abroad throughout the rest of the world. The number of officers who quit the force has been rising steadily since 2019, according to the Police Pension Fund. It nearly doubled between 2020 and 2021, with 465 officers quitting in 2020 and 888 quitting in 2021. A lot of these police officers, they want their pension. But guess what? With the current financial conditions, the pension funds are losing money. Hedge funds are losing money. Mutual funds are losing money as inflation continues to devalue what's left of the value or the worth of the US dollar, which is an extrinsic currency. Extrinsic meaning that it receives its value externally. It is not intrinsic like gold and silver, land, cattle, which is true money. The dollar is nothing more than a talisman. So far this year, 1,426 officers have quit 4 times as many compared to 2015. And they have a graph of the NYPD quits from 2015 to 2022. And we can see that from 2020 to date, many officers have been quitting. Lynn said many officers are choosing to go to other police departments which pay more, including the MTA police, New York State Troopers, and to departments in Westchester and on Long Island. In Suffolk County, for example, the PBA said officers make 76% more than NYPD officers. According to the Suffolk County Police Department, out of the 380 officers who joined the department in the last year, 111 had prior NYPD experience. What we need to do is what other police departments are doing, Lane said, investing in their police officers. And they have another graph of the NYPD department hourly pay from 2019, and you can see that the Suffolk County, they get paid $86,157 by the hour. NYPD officers, they get paid $49.17. So a lot of these quittings are happening due to the rate of pay, which is not aligning with current economic conditions to support maintaining a roof over the head, because as inflation increases, the value of the dollar decreases, and that makes things a lot more expensive, including keeping a roof over your head. Lynn slammed the plan by New York City and the state to have NYPD officers work more overtime to combat subway crime. He said the reliance on overtime should signal to administrators the existence of a manpower problem, right? Because a lot of officers have clearly been getting a lot of overtime because nobody is there to fulfill most roles. So they're basically struggling, man. The question you have to ask is, where are those police officers, coming from that are now surging into the subway? He said, they're coming from our neighborhood precincts, which are already short-staffed. Lynn said some officers, especially transit officers, are already working 60 hours of overtime every month. That has an effect on the individual police officer as well, he said. We need decompression time. Lynn said officers are also leaving the NYPD because of overtime requirements and are going to other departments that are better staffed and have more regular schedules. According to the Police Pension Fund, 1,628 officers have retired this year, bringing the total attributed number of NYPD officers for 2022 to 3,054. The NYPD said the NYPD regularly monitors attrition and plans accordingly to address the loss of officers who retire or leave the department for a variety of reasons. On Wednesday, the NYPD hired 600 individuals who have already begun their training at the police academy. The 600 officers, however, cover half of the 1,170 uniform positions cut in the city's 2021 budget following the defunding the police movement. The chief of the department alluded to the staffing issues in an October 7 press conference on the criminal statistics. Chief Kenneth Corey said the NYPD has 9,000 fewer officers than it did in 2001. That's quite a lot. Yet officers have been making the same number of high-quality arrests. For the last several years, the NYPD has had a headcount below the amount it budgeted by the city. The PBA estimates the department is currently short about 1,000 officers. This concludes the article. So expect to see things get more out of control in New York City as crime continues to increase and also spiral out of control. Okay, so this concludes this article. In other news from the RT, Saudi Crown Prince mocks U.S. President in private WSJ. Europeans reducing spending on essentials. U.S. resorting to information terrorism, Iran. EU warned over a gas price cap. Eurozone recession more likely as business activity slows. Let's read some of this article. Companies are slashing manufacturing due to inflation from rising energy costs. Private sector activity in the Eurozone took another hit in October as the Purchasing Manager Index, compiled by S&P Global, slumped to its lowest level since April 2013. Excluding pandemic lockdowns, Bloomberg reported on Monday. The index fell to 47.1 this month, down from 48.1 in September, which was worse than economists had anticipated. A reading below 50 indicates a contraction, basically a recession, with business activity slowing. Fears of a looming recession are mounting across the Euro area. The steepest activity declines have been reported in manufacturing, especially in energy-intensive sectors such as chemicals and plastics. Although services output also dropped for a third consecutive month as consumer struggles with the cost of living crisis, according to data. Demand for goods and services shrank as companies and households are facing pressure due to inflation, which is largely stemming from skyrocketing energy costs. Even reported improved shipping in October. Economists point out that suppliers were less busy due to falling demand. Why? Because there's no staff due to inflation. So a lot of these corporations and businesses are laying off their employees, which is slowing demand because there's no activity going on. Okay, there's little to no supply due to short staffings of workers because companies are laying off their employees, which is pretty much decreasing demand all across the board because companies they rely on loans, borrowing loans from banks, funds, and stuff like that. But since inflation is running rampant and interest rates are high, that causes the cost of borrowing to also go up. So it's hard for companies to pretty much keep up. Okay, did a lesson explaining that, but reading on, it says according to the outlet input buying by manufacturers fell at one of the steepest rates since the global financial crisis. Price pressures, meanwhile, remain stubbornly elevated as rising energy and staff costs and the weakened euro offset any lowering of commodity prices linked to improving supply conditions. Williamson said, adding that the situation economically is getting worse quite rapidly. The S&P Global report suggests that the economies of the 19 countries that use the euro currency will drop by 0.2% in the fourth quarter, and points out that the downturn may accelerate. Given that some economists are already pricing in an economic slowdown by the end of the year, a number of firms across the euro area have suspended hiring while others are cutting down on staff. Right. So basically, in doing that, is going to create a deflationary environment, but by them still increasing interest rates, is going to only continue to push the economy further down into recessions. Globally, that is. In other news, Russia warns Security Council over Ukrainian dirty bomb. EU lawmaker quits after suspension over Ukraine stance. Kanye West dropped by talent agency. So, ex-Russian president warns Western analysis on weapon stocks. So Russia's pretty much accelerating their production of weaponry and war stocks. Chinese stock and currency slides, and the list goes on. So let's get the scriptures again and then conclude the lesson. St. Matthew 24 verse 12, and because iniquity, what is iniquity? Sin upon sin. What is sin? 1 John chapter 3 verse 4 tells us that sin is transgression of the law, shall abound. And so iniquity, that is sin upon sin, abounds throughout the world, especially here in America, Babylon the Great. That's why we've been seeing a lot of lawless things happening. That's why we've been seeing a lot of purge-like activities happening across the board, especially here in New York City, where crime has been on the rise exponentially. You know, a lot of crazy shit happens in the subway systems and just in general. Okay? All over the world, man. The love of many shall wax cold because we are approaching the end. Therefore, since we are approaching the end, the love of many are waxing cold one towards the other. So much so that men will soon begin to invade the houses, the homes of one another, because of the, for the lack of bread and great tribulation. 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. Earlier I explained what sedition is, and there will be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city. Men are going to desire to drive from state to state, fly from country to country, okay, but will not be able to. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Bridges are going to be closed. The communities are going to be closed. Airports are going to be closed. Stellings are going to be closed. Ferries are going to be closed. Okay? For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So all these things are going to happen because of their pride. And because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. And many great miseries shall be done unto them that in the latter times have walked in great pride upon the earth. The houses shall be destroyed. And you can refer to that in 2 Ezra, the 8th chapter. And men shall be afraid. And if men are going to be afraid, how much more women, which are the weaker vessel? A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall, because men are going to be as women. And that is written in the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, so a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Why? Because things are going to be happening that are going to be causing men to have no pity upon their neighbors. Remember, the love of many shall wax cold, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, with the modern day gun, assault rifles, actual swords, and spoil, which means to take their goods, their victuals, their food and drink, because of the lack of bread. And that is why men shall have no pity upon their neighbor, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So all these things are coming, man. All these things are coming. Not more than evils. Bad times are ahead. So with that, I'll conclude this lesson. Lord's willing, was edifying to the elect. Until the next Lord's willing, I say Shalom.